Good evening from Swansea wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. It's Wednesday, and we all know what that means. Tonight is AEW Dynamite, and we've got a great episode to preview here today. There's a lot to discuss, a lot of possible theories to be had. It's going to be a fun one, but firstly, let me introduce the panel, and let's start with the co-host of the show, the man who dressed up as Sting last night on NXT Off the Air, Clark Taylor. Clark, how are you today?
Oh, dude, you know me. I'm stoked to be here. I got most of the paint off as best I could. I did look a little bit like Pete Wentz from Fall Out Boy for a minute with the eyeliner at the end of the night, but I was able to use some wipes and get that figured out, and it was worth it. I will say the fact he does that every time he wrestles, newfound respect, and I already loved Sting. I mean, are you kidding me? It takes you that long to get it off? It takes almost as long to get it off as it does to have it put on. It's like that's a lot of work in there, and I have to admit that I respect it. But I had a heck of a Halloween. Me and Sean had a blast yesterday on Off the Air. I had a blast on yesterday's daily, but I'm stoked to see you two, and I'm not, I promise this time I'm not stepping on your toes on the next announcement.
It was great last night's NXT Off the Air. If you haven't seen it, make sure you do check it out after this episode of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. But last but certainly not least, let's introduce the guy who reviews AEW here at Wrestling Republic. He started by doing just Dynamite, then he took on Collision, and now he's going to be starting Rampage as well. David Sheldon. David, how are you today?
I love AEW. What can I say? Hello, everybody. I'm very excited to be here today. It's been one hell of a day trying to do university, and I'm going straight from here to a film. So I'm trying to balance 100 different things today. But I am very excited to talk about Dynamite, an interesting card, some fun stuff to talk about, some stuff that I've just got absolutely no idea. But we'll get to that when we get to it. Yeah, I'm excited. Let's get at it.
You've almost done as much today as Tony Khan does. We'll get on to him in just a second, but I still don't know how he does as much as he does. It's genuinely, he's at everything.
One more thing as well, just while I'm here. It's a day late, but for Halloween.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to Bray Wyatt.
Monster shout out.
We've got a couple of comments here. Firstly, Melissa in the comments. Shout out to Melissa, and Melissa also shouting out the Arsenal top, the Arsenal badge. Of course, Arsenal are currently playing right now for us real football fans. I'm only joking. Over in London, but we've also got a comment which is more specific to what we're about to be talking about right now, and that is from Numero One Superfly, who is saying Tony Khan's major announcement is that he's going to finally stop announcing announcements, only for it to be revealed it's happening the following week by yet another announcement. I mean, that's a tongue twister. But let's get right into it. Of course, last night on Twitter, Tony Khan revealed that tonight on Dynamite, he is doing an important announcement. Now, it's become a meme. He's constantly doing these announcements. It feels like once a month at this point. I mean, they always do draw views. I'll say that about it. It works, right, from that standpoint. But from a fan's standpoint, it's kind of like, do all of these need, announcing? But here's the thing, right? Here's why I'm excited about this announcement. Today on AEW's social media pages, they posted a video, and it was like a video package showcasing their women's division, right? It showed Saraya, Ruby Soho, Toni Storm, Britt Baker as well, and Doja Cat was, singing in it. Paint the Town Red, her very successful song that's in the charts at the minute. And obviously, they paid a lot of money for this video package, right? But it was just so random. It's like, why are they doing this to showcase their women's division just out of nowhere right now? I'm not complaining about it, but I have a feeling that this is going to link to the announcement today, or at least I hope it will lead to the announcement today, because the announcement today should be they're going to be introducing women's tag team championships, because I know all this stigma around, the WWE women's tag team championships, but here's the thing about it, right? I'm sorry, but it's because they've not been booked well. They have enough talent in that division, more than enough talent in that division, to be able to have a women's tag team division within it. There's zero excuses for it, right? But what they will have to do if they do introduce it is give the women more TV time. And I don't think there's any way of getting around that. I think they just need to do that and introduce this tag team division too. Of course, we're seeing the Sky Blue, some like heel turn seemingly at the minute. A lot of rumors that maybe she could be linking up with Julia Hart. Could they perhaps, be the first champions with these women's tag team belts? At least that's what I'm hoping it is. What I'm really hoping it's not is a TV deal or a streaming deal, because yes, that's an important announcement, but that doesn't need to be hyped up as an important announcement. That can just be announced. You don't see Triple H saying, on Raw, oh, next week I'm doing an important announcement, and then announce this going to wherever or something like that. They do that behind the scenes and then make a big press release out of it and then reference it on TV after it's happened. You do not need to, be announcing this on the TV product itself. So I am hoping it's the women's division, but if it's not, that, then I think you guys better be glad I'm not on the show tomorrow, because I will be complaining. But Clark, what did you think? What do you think about this? What is your prediction for Tony Khan's announcement?
I really loved the video that you mentioned, and I don't mind the idea about women's tag team titles necessarily, but it wouldn't be my first choice. My first choice is, I think it's time to really highlight the women's division and do a tournament that is exclusively wrestled on, whether it's Dynamite or Collision. Pick a show, I don't care. One mystery entrant. She used to wear blue a lot on the other brand. And I said what I said, Ben. I can see you over there. And in the words of Doja Cat, I said what I said. Paint the town red. Red hair. Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné as the mystery entrant. A tournament for the AEW Women's World Title. I'm all in on. I'm dropping puns like it's no big deal in this one right here. I'm all in on that, and maybe that's where you pay it off next year. Whether that's the case or not, I don't know, but that's what I'd love to see this announcement be. And I loved the video in and of itself. Let's do Paint the Town Red, and Mercedes Moné, we know, can do that one.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm gonna shout out Clark for the amount of puns you managed to fit in there. That was actually done quite well. Often I cringe at them. Today you did nail that. That was quite funny. But I mean, my argument is they've done tons of women's tournaments in the past. Is that really a big announcement? I mean, if Mercedes Moné was to show up in it, that would be huge for them. Great get for AEW. But I don't think that needs to be announced as an important announcement ahead of the announcement itself. It's just a lot of announcements. But David, what do you think? What is your prediction?
They've bought heroes of wrestling. Jake Roberts is with the company. Bring him back. You won 21. I got 22. I don't like to bring that up. Anyway, I think women's tag titles would be the worst thing. And that's not to say that they can't have them, but what teams have they got? You'll be introducing something that will immediately set alarm bells, because you'll have to create a bunch of teams out of the blue. Because, you've got, Shad mentioned in the chat, Athena and Billy Starks there. That's Ring of Honor. So who have you got? Saraya and Soho. You've got possibly Sky Blue and Julia Hart and the Renegades, who I think have been on TV once. And also AEW have so many championships. They have so many. I think it was just going to keep diluting the market more and more and more and more. Having said that, I don't really know what the announcement's going to be. I wonder if that. I get this horrible feeling that the women's video package that got posted may not actually relate to the announcement. And then that might be something coming a bit later down the line. I hope I'm wrong, because I'd love to see the women's division get the highlighting and the spotlight. Of course I would. I just don't really know what that entails. Does it entail a TV show for them? I don't want that, really. I think they should just integrate them better on the actual shows. A tournament isn't a terrible idea, but again, we've seen so many of them. I think we are just all a bit diluted by the TK announcements now. I mean, when I started at Wrestling Republic, I used to joke that every week was a new announcement, because the first 3 weeks I was with you guys in the company. There was a different announcement every week. We haven't had one in a while, so it doesn't feel like this. Oh, another one, quite like it did a few months ago. So I feel like it could be something. It might be something related to their new pay-per-view that's coming out next month. I can't exactly remember what that.
World's End, I believe.
World's End, that's it. And then we're going to do Shaun of the Dead, and then we're going to do Hot Fuzz. Complete the Cornetto trilogy. No, I think could it be that they're going to do more pay-per-views? We've already seen Wrestle Dream in October. Now we're seeing this one in December, after Full Gear in November. Could they be going to monthly pay-per-views? Is that the announcement? It's going to be interesting, I think, and I'm intrigued to see what they go with. I think it will either be something to do with the women's division or the pay-per-view schedule. I don't see it being much else. But yeah, it seems to come very out of the blue. Yeah, I'm quite curious with this one, to be honest. But I do think women's tag titles would be a mistake right now, because I don't think they've got the infrastructure to launch it. I think you need something. We learned the hard way with the women's tag titles. Just introducing a belt doesn't make it. You've got to have something you can springboard off. So if they can spend the next month or two building teams and then do it, I'm all for it. But not now.
Yeah, no, I mean, to be fair, that's a great point. I mean, I guess the excuse would be, well, they're not going to, create tag teams until there's a reason to create tag teams. But you are right. If this was the plan, then they should have started that process like 2 months ago and really built towards it. But yeah, I mean, there's so many women in that division who aren't used, right? I mean, you saw this with the WWE Women's Tag Team titles too. Yes, it was often that they were just thrown together teams, but at least those women were getting airtime at that point. And that's not a good enough excuse. That just isn't.
Yeah.
But it's still the case, because women aren't getting enough airtime in wrestling as a whole.
Yeah.
Especially on AEW.
So I was going to say, there absolutely should be women. I mean, it's my belief that kind of whatever the men have, the women should have as well.
Yeah.
So in an ideal world, there should be a men. It's why I don't like using the word the AEW World Championship. I prefer the AEW Men's World Championship, because then it's the AEW Championship and the AEW Women's World Championship, which I think creates a thing anyway. But again, if you compare the way that they're booked, that's how they book it. Unfortunately, is that the women's titles are less valuable than the men's titles, which is awful. But that is what AEW's biggest weakness. I also think, to an extent, in some areas, it's WWE's weakness as well. It's a lot of wrestling companies' weakness, but nowhere near as bad as AEW, who are really in the doghouse right now.
I mean, even think about the steam lost on the TBS title. As great of a talent as Chris Statlander is, that's no knock on her. But Jade Cargill made that belt in a way that not many other wrestlers have been able to do, whether it's man or woman in AEW.
I mean, I think the problem you kind of have with is that at the moment, Shida and Statlander are doing exactly the same thing, which is Statlander is having random weekly matches, which is what a mid-card title should be. Look, John Cena's US Open Challenge, putting over that. And I do think Statlander's doing a great job. Shida has now won the title and is doing weekly matches against people who've won number one contenders matches on Rampage. And then we get, the dreadful Ruby Soho match, which is, that's not Shida's fault. It's not really Soho's fault either. It was just a really odd match that didn't work. The Abaddon match I thought was a bit of a mess as well. So everything just seems a bit odd right now. And I feel like AEW's women's division is Toni Storm. And that's the only person in AEW that in the women's division that AEW care about.
Right. So that's hard to argue against.
I just think there's got to be something to kind of bolster it. But we've all sat here, for years we've had these conversations about what AEW can do to improve their women's division, and they never do it. And everything they do try doesn't seem to work because they can never give it enough energy. So whatever it is, they've just got to stick to it. And if it is to do with the women's division, which I feel like it might not be, but if it is, they've got to stick to it and they've got to try. Just got to try.
The solution, honestly, it's not a difficult one. I've said it for weeks and weeks and weeks now. the solution, not even weeks, months, right? The solution is, one, give them more airtime, right? Secondly, give them characters so they actually, we have a reason to care. Because so many of the women, in that division haven't been given characters, or at least haven't been given a chance to showcase their characters, through promo packages and, the similar things to that. Toni Storm now has, and look how over she has become. Julia Hart did, and look how over she has become. Like, it's not difficult. It's so easy.
If I think about all the people in AEW women's division that I'm interested in, and even into Ring of Honor, Athena, Billy Starks, Toni Storm, Julia Hart, Sky Blue, Abaddon, they've all got characters. They give me a reason to care. And like, I love Shida dearly, but Shida's character is champion. Ruby Soho's character is spray bottle. That's not enough.
It's not.
Britt Baker's character currently is dentist. It's not enough. You've got to give people a reason to care. It's really not that hard.
Best wrestling dentist of all time, though, including Mayor Kane. I'm just saying.
Shard's making a couple of good points. Firstly, actually comparing feuds, absolutely, and also we need Thunder Rosa back. But again, if there's several characters they currently got who they just not.
When Thunder Rosa
they
was
need to
like,
give TV time.
Yeah, when Thunder Rosa was like on Collision, and it was gonna be like Thunder Rosa's coming back. And like she was on like 1 week of Collision, I think, not to do anything, just to be like, oh, she is coming back. A video package
she did Spanish commentary,
and then never seen again. She's just, where's she gone? Where be Thunder?
But we gotta let me look at the rest of the comments too. Josh Markowitz, shout out Josh, is agreeing too, and of course Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. Once Jamie Hayter returns, that's another tag team. I mean, maybe Hayter's close to being back. And in that case, we've named about 5, 6, especially if Bunny's back too, then we're at 6. But we still need a couple more. But now let's move on. And let's move on to talk. Let's move on to talk about the women's division, actually. Let's double down on the Shida thing, right? Because Hikaru Shida, David, you made a great point. Every week she's just defending her championship. I'd say having solid matches, but unfortunately she's had 2 not solid matches the last couple of weeks. And Shida's a great wrestler. There's nothing on Shida. It's just, chemistry's not been there. I don't think match production has been very good for either of them either. I mean, whose idea was it to do a spot on, soft sweets? I mean, that certainly is something which I just don't get. At least have it be like hard boiled or something where, it could hurt slightly. But that's what. I mean, yeah, even that. You know what? Even they're better than soft
crunchy
sweets,
candy,
right?
jawbreakers.
Yes, jawbreakers. Yeah, absolutely. That's what would have made 10 times more sense. But anyway, like David said, Shida's reign's just been matches. That's not good enough. It's professional wrestling. If people just wanted to see action, and that's all they wanted to see, not story, they just go and watch MMA. And I know that's taking things maybe a bit extreme, right? Because wrestling is, it's different on a lot of levels. But the big thing about professional wrestling is everything's meant to have a story. Everything's meant to make sense long term. Shida right now, they're just not giving her a story. Obviously, they're building up Toni Storm. But, they've not actually given us the reason to care about the rivalry between Toni Storm and Shida. It's just, Toni Storm's over. Oh, let's build her, to the championship. Not let's build her in a feud with Shida. I mean, this is kind of what you, Clark, were talking about at WrestleMania. Build up to WrestleMania, Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. But this is 20 times worse. As at least then they tried to, build a bit between Cody and Roman. Wasn't good enough, but at least they tried. But anyway, tonight Shida's facing Willow Nightingale. I'm very positive this will be a better match than we've seen, the 2 matches last week. But still, why should I care? Why should I care? Clark, please give me a reason to care.
I'm going to give you one reason, and it's kind of an easy one. And it's funny because it's the same reason that I have. And it's interesting because we've had this awesome discussion about the women's division in AEW. And I agree with so much of what we've all three presented, right? Well, of course, I agreed with what I said, but I'm just saying. I very much agree with what David has said and what you've said as well, Ben. Willow Nightingale, though, and this is my power of positivity here. Shout out Big E. Willow Nightingale, every single time I watch her, whether it's wrestling, no matter what she does in AEW, I become a bigger fan. Willow is awesome. This women's division talent-wise is deep. It's deep as could be. There's no issue with talent. And Willow is a shining star amongst a group of veterans that are established, amongst a group of people that were there before her in AEW. And I'm excited to see her have this match with Sheeta. While I understand the storytelling stuff, and to your point, when Sheeta won this title in the first place, they didn't really rebuild her or build to that. It just kind of happened, you know? And that's an issue. But Willow Nightingale does enough charismatically and is so talented in the ring, storytelling wise, all of it. As far as stories are concerned, let's book Willow in some, because she's managing to do it no matter the situation you put her in. I mean, I look at merely in this calendar year, merely in January. So I almost misdid the math, but whatever that is, I guess now 11 months ago, 10 months ago in LA, she main evented Rampage in Dudley's gear and hit a power bomb off the stage. The versatility is off the charts, and she manages to land in almost every situation she's put in. And I'm not saying that in any way Willow is more talented than the rest of the roster, but she's managed to stand out in an interesting time as far as booking is concerned, and an interesting time as far as storytelling is concerned. And that would be my reason for you, Ben, to watch this match, is watch Willow. Watch Willow steal this show.
I mean, honestly, Clark, I'm not going to argue with that point, because I will say this. Willow Nightingale gets very little TV time. She just gets like a couple backstage promos, whatever. Every single second of every single bit of TV time she gets, she delivers in, and she makes you care about her. You said that personality, that bubbly personality, it just comes through the camera. It just draws you in, and you're like, yes, she is awesome.
You want to root for her.
Yeah.
Like badly. It's true babyface work, which is what's so impressive. That's so difficult to do in today's day and age, where you're like, she's my fave. She's awesome.
Willow is terrific. I will in no way disagree with you there. She's a brilliant talent. I just think it's very confusing she's got this match, in the sense that she had a storyline with Chris Statlander, which was quite good. It was all right. It was quite a good little, kind of bubbling over for a week or two. She then faced Statlander, a battle for the belts for the TBS title, and lost. And so now she's been elevated to the world title picture. Why?
Yeah, it's a good point.
Because it's Willow and Willow. It's because it's Willow and Willow's great.
Yes.
Right? That's the reason why. And because this will be a fun match, and then Tony Storm will do something silly, and then we'll move on. But it's just like, I mean, I'll be honest with you. The reason why I think we've stopped caring is because Sheeta's got this title for another 18 days. Because there is not a cat in hell's chance that anybody but Tony Storm is walking out of Full Gear with that title. Because you can tell who they're more interested in right now, and it's Tony. And I think Tony with the title will make the title more interesting. But it's just, right now we're in purgatory. And what's happening is happening every week. Sheeta's having a match of varying quality with somebody, and then Tony Storm is coming out, and poor Sheeta, because she's got nothing to work with, because it's just Tony riffing, is just Sheeta standing in the middle of the ring going, various faces of confusion and/or disgust.
That's pretty good.
No, it's a great point, David.
It's just like, give Sheeta a promo, give her something, anything to make me care about it going into Full Gear. Because I care about Tony, and I don't think the way Tony's been booked has been perfect either. But as I think there's loads of things they could have done to make Tony better in these last few weeks, like giving me a reason to really care about her beyond the new character, beyond just the new personality. But pick between the two right now. I know who I'd rather have the title.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's very true. And Chard agrees with you on that as well. But now let's move over.
I do too, full disclosure, by the way, before we move on. Sorry. I actually do too.
So do I, to be honest. I think it's hard to disagree. But now let's move on, David, to your favorite wrestler, Orange Cassidy. Because Orange Cassidy will be defending his AEW International Championship, a championship which, in my opinion, he should not be holding right now because he just ruined a brilliant storyline he was doing. But anyway, he'll be defending that championship against Claudio Castagnoli tonight on Dynamite. Now, I said this on Sunday after Collision. I said, The way that they built this match on Collision was perfect. Claudio knocked it out of the park. He is so annoyed that, you know, Orange Cassidy injured Bryan Danielson. He is furious about it. But, just like I said on Sunday, this match should not be happening yet. They should continue building up this feud for a couple of weeks and have it be a huge match at that Full Gear pay-per-view, because this feels like a real feud. Claudio's so angry about it, and he did an amazing job on Collision, but they shouldn't just be giving it to us like this. I think they should have built the story, let it mature for another couple of weeks, right? It's not long, 2 weeks. And then bang, served it up to us, AEW Full Gear, and I think it would have been absolutely lovely. But as for tonight, I mean, surely Orange Cassidy doesn't lose the title. What do you think, David?
No, I don't think Cassidy loses the title here. I wonder with this whether the plan for Full Gear might have been Danielson versus Cassidy. And that's why they did Cassidy versus Claudio. I could be completely wrong, but obviously Danielson's now injured, so that's out the window. I don't really know. I mean, what I will say is, outside of the story, I adored the chemistry that Castagnoli and Cassidy had in that tag match. I think that this match is going to be brilliant. I think they've just got mentally good chemistry. Love Cassidy. Love Claudio. This is going to be awesome. I think Cassidy retains. I completely agree with you, Ben. They bungled the way that this story came together. But I actually think this is still going to be a brilliant match. And I think it might set up whatever Cassidy is doing at Full Gear, whatever that may be.
Yeah, no, I mean, that is one where it's going to be, you know, it's going to be very interesting to see what he does. But yeah, I think this just had the potential to, you know, potentially be that pay-per-view match, because as we said, a lot of these mid-card feuds in AEW, dare I say, usually don't have a story, especially, you know, when they're involving the International Championship. I'm not just the International, the TNT is the exact same, right?
Well, it's ironic, really, because it's not really, though, because TNT is probably in because TNT's on Christian Cage.
But even then, they're not building feuds, are they? They're building the character.
Well, they're building Christian Cage and Darby Allin, Christian Cage and Adam Copeland, Christian Cage and, you know, they are. They're just building them slow.
I think the best feud going, though, is Swerve and Hangman. Right?
Yeah, I'm about mid-card title.
That's considered. I know it's not a title feud, but I'm just saying it's technically right filed under mid-card feud.
No, that feud's
interesting.
Amazing.
That not surrounding a title, all of a sudden they struck gold, right?
It's true.
And we just can't, you know, we can't wrap the gold around it in the way that you would expect.
Yeah, because I know you have an aversion to mid-card titles, Ben, but and you've made this quite clear in the past. I think mid-card titles are great, and I think they have a purpose, and that purpose is to elevate people, you know, that are lower down the card. I like what Cassidy did with the Open Challenge the first time round. I like the fact that I love an open challenge title. I feel like we've kind of gone backwards now. Because now, like I said, we've rushed the Cassidy story because they wanted to pop a quick rating on television. That's the only reason I can think they did it. Yeah. And poorly timed injuries and all of the rest of it. So now they're like,
injuries is where I was going.
Yeah, injuries as well. So now they're like, right, what do we do now? I know, we'll just put them back into singles matches again, and we'll just have Cassidy. It was almost like a, you know, break glass in case of emergency. We had some injury troubles around the international title, put it back on Cassidy, do what worked last time. It will. Cassidy, the thing is, when Cassidy first got the title the first time round, everybody moaned. And then week by week, we improved it. Yes, the way that he's won the title back is rubbish. It was rubbish for the story they were trying to tell. If he keeps holding this title, which I think he will, I think in a month or two, I don't think anyone will remember that. And I think people will focus on whatever he's doing next.
It's the same story, though. You can't run back the same story second.
But I don't think they're going. I don't think they're going.
He never finished the original. I don't think.
I don't think they're going.
He lost a war to Moxley at All Out.
Yeah,
right?
I think
then they swooped the direction of it because of injury.
And I agree. But if you go back and think about the All Out match, right? Who in their right mind would have thought that after all of that work that he put in, carrying the title and wrestling all these great matches, the loss is the most exciting one. So yes, he does win it back in a fluky way, which at the time was complainable, to David's point. But in the future, it's still the work that he had put in was still worthy, and it didn't necessarily change the narrative on Orange Cassidy. If anything, he was as high as you could be, as over as you could be, as far as in people's eyes after he took the loss. Now he has the win, building back. I don't think it's that tough a process. And to your point, David, I'm sorry, I'm
that's
rambling here, but to your point, at the final finish of this, right, is going to have to be somebody that he can't possibly outwork or even work right. Like I don't know if you're going to change the direction of the way this title is, because it feels more like a workhorse intercontinental type title than it does necessarily a different mid-card title if we're going to compare it to others, right? Like a classic 90s.
They're gonna have him lose it to Moxley again at Full Gear, aren't they? I've just realized.
I'm afraid
I
know.
I think they're gonna do now, and they're gonna do Mox.
I think Full Gear is gonna be the remnants of whatever remains of the BCC versus House of Black.
By the way,
I
feel like
that's
during the entrance,
but I do
that's
think
exactly where I was going with Moxley.
But I'd like to see. What I think might be quite interesting is if once they do that, they go into a Malachi and Orange Cassidy. And
I actually would not mind that. I'd be down for that.
And then once that's done, because then you can have Cassidy versus Buddy Matthews again, which they've done before and was brilliant. You can do Brody King and Cassidy, which I'd love. And then once you do that, Moxley comes back and say, I've been away long enough, now I want your title.
Yeah.
And what happens there, I really don't know. Again, I think the story's been a real mess.
Yeah.
But I think wherever they go, as long as they don't hotshot it back onto somebody else again, which they might, I do think there's still, and we're still going to get cracking matches out of it.
They need to tell like a story as well with Orange Cassidy feuds, not just an Orange Cassidy story, but a story with the feuds too. But if they do that, then I'll stop complaining. I'll be all good about it. But now let's move on and let's talk about a story which they are telling, and one which has got a lot of people interested, including myself, and that is Maxwell Jacob Friedman and who he will choose to team with him to take on to defend the ROH Championships, Tag Team Championships against the Guns at Full Gear, of course, then before he faces Jay White later on in the night. Well, decision time is getting close for MJF, but he will have to make a decision tonight. But that decision is not that decision, but instead it is on who will be his three partners tonight to go head-to-head with him against Bullet Club Gold. Now, this one's interesting, right? Because there are a few people, who are interested. I mean, of course, there's what's his name? How have I completely forgotten his name? Max Caster from the acclaimed Max and Max. So Max could be an option there. We've obviously got Samoa Joe. We're seeing him all the time. I'd be shocked if he wasn't one of these three partners tonight. And then there's Powerhouse Hobbs who's lurking around as well. So that's certainly interesting. But there's something else which is interesting, and that is, of course, this week, Alex Hammerstone took to Twitter and said that, hey, I've asked for my release from Major League Wrestling. I want out. Thank you for the time there. I really appreciated it, but I want to go. I want to be a free agent now, and I have other plans. But there's also somebody else who's a free agent, and that man is Richard Holiday. Now, if you don't know, Richard Holiday, Alex Hammerstone, and Maxwell Jacob Friedman used to be part of a faction, and that faction was known as the Dynasty in Major League Wrestling back in the day. So, could they be reuniting? Is that maybe what's going to be, the partners of MJF? Are they reuniting the Dynasty and then bringing somebody else in as well? That's the wild take of the week. But hey, if that happens, I will be marking out. That is for sure. Bailey suggested maybe Samoa Joe is the other guy then, and the other two are just the Dynasty. Listen, there's a lot of fun possibilities. David, what is your prediction for this one? Who will be teaming with Max?
It's a jolly holiday with Max. Well, sorry, couldn't resist that one as you mentioned, holiday. Right. It's not going to be Hammerstone. I'll burst the bubble on that one. There's no way if he's asked to release this, unless something has gone wrong behind the scenes we don't know about, and he's already raring to go. I can't see it being Hammerstone. I also can't see it being Holiday. I think we complain. There are complaints that go around with regards to a lot of the AEW stuff with people being introduced and we've got no idea who they are. Now, if I hadn't have heard about that through you and in previous weeks, Ben, someone who didn't watch MLW, I wouldn't have had a blinking clue. And I'm a fairly big person. I wouldn't have had a clue. And that's not to say don't do it, but I can't see that happening. I do think this whole show should be focused around MJF, though. I think this should be the main event of the show. I don't know if it is billed to be the main event of the show, but it should be. And I think it should be the whole show of MJF doing kind of deals behind the scenes and playing kind of thing. And I get the feeling that the three people might end up being Samoa Joe, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Wardlow. With all three like this, and then the second the match ends, all three turn on him because that's their chance to all get in the ring and brutalize him, which is where Max Caster will make the save, and Roddy Strong will come down on his wheelchair, like wheeling his way down the ring to try and fend somebody off and get launched into space by somebody, and that'll be kind of the end of the show. And I think it'll kind of set up that you've got people who are on Max's side and people who aren't on Max's side, like Wardlow, like Hobbs. And I think there's a lot you're going to have to do on this show, I think, to kind of justify whoever the partner is, because he's already rejected Max Caster. He's already rejected the Kingdom. So they're gonna have to do a lot of work. They've been doing a lot of good work behind the scenes of kind of not behind the scenes, but backstage stuff with interview with Don Callis on Rampage and stuff like that. So they're doing some great stuff there. You've also got Kenny Omega lurking around. I would have said that the three probably would have been Joe, Omega, and Wardlow because they were the three major challengers at the time. Unfortunately, Omega's already wrestling on this show, and I can't see him pulling double duty. So I do think that the three might end up being the three big muscle heels who the second get over just blindside Max and eat him. But I don't know. There's so many different ways you could go with this, and I'm excited to see whichever one they choose to go for.
Yeah, no, it certainly is something, and I mean, we were talking about it the other day, saying on the show, saying that it kind of feels like, Ric Flair back in the day, where everybody's going for his championship. And I personally, if that is the direction, we go, David, on one hand, I like it because it makes MJF feel like a champion. Everybody's going after him, and I like that. On the other hand, we're 2 weeks from a pay-per-view. Jay White, MJF should be the focus there. And if you end the show like that, I just fear that that's kind of taken out of focus. But I mean, there's positives and negatives to it. But Clark, what do you think heading into this? Who do you think the partners will be?
First and foremost, I'm all in on the chase. I love it. Everybody going after MJF's title, and we feel like we have this many challengers. And we look at the other brand, I don't know that many beyond who's up next for Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. And that's no knock on WWE because I enjoy the product. But hey, if you're doing it different, that's a good idea at a time like this. Now, personally, I believe the answer is this is the Acclaimed. This is when they pay off this Acclaimed stuff, and you get Max and Max, and you get Bowens, and you get Billy Gunn, you get the whole nine. Now, if we were trying to get funky on a Wednesday here and trying to have a little bit of fun, I think you look at something like, I don't know, a team that used to hang out with him, FTR, and a guy like Edge, and you talk about who's in the devil mask being one of the best parts about this storyline involving MJF. Well, that rules those three out if there's a devil mask interference in this one. Right?
Yeah, that does.
And slowly but surely, if you start ruling out different people that it could be, that payoff only gets bigger. Because then the guesses get nastier, the guesses get wilder. All of a sudden, you're not sure who it could be because it's definitely not them. Something happened while they were in the ring with Max. So coupled with that storyline that they're already telling about Max having all these challengers, boy, would I not mind something like that. And especially the exclamation point. You got to have an appearance from whoever is in the devil mask backstage during all of this.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I like both of your ideas, actually, to be honest.
I had another idea. Clark, you've inspired me. You've inspired me. That something happens towards the end of the match, regardless of who the partners are, where the final visual is the lights go black, with Jay White kind of has MJF in the thing. The lights come back on. MJF isn't there, but a man in a devil mask is. Hits one of MJF's moves, whichever one of his big moves they are. Not the move that whoever the person behind the mask is in, but the Heat Seeker or something like that disappears, and that's how MJF gets his title.
Ooh, I like it.
And so the lights go back down, lights come back up, and MJF's in the ring. So it's not necessarily saying like we're not going down like a split personality thing of MJF is two sides of the same person, but it's basically we know that it's not MJF in that mask. But for the idiot Bullet Club goals, they can still say, well, you hit his move, or something like that. The more I said it, the more rubbish it sounds. But
I don't hate it at all.
But something surrounding the devil in the finish that keeps going, who is in that devil mask?
Yeah.
Because the more it goes on, the more I think it's Adam Cole. But like,
do you know what though? I thought basically what you just said. I thought that was kind of the direction they were going to go in last week, because when they were talking about MJF and Omega, MJF was like, "You're gonna face the devil," and he never actually said, "You're gonna face me." He kept saying the devil to Omega last week. So I thought going into Collision, hang on, could something be happening? Wasn't. There was nothing. But yeah, that's what I kind of thought was where we were going. But I mean, Clark, do you think that maybe? So you were saying you think Adam Cole is the devil?
No. That was
sorry,
David said Adam Cole.
Do you think he is the devil?
To be honest, I think it needs to be the ultimate surprise, and I have a weird feeling it's Edge. You look at how deep Christian is in all of this, and Edge has been the ultimate good guy, and we've gotten those pops, and that would be such an Adam Copeland type storyline. I mean, we're talking about the rated R superstar, the ultimate opportunist, the guy that master manipulator, right?
I mean, whatever Adam Copeland does do, can he please do more than what he's currently doing? Which
that's
is
where
nothing.
I think.
He's doing nothing now.
That's where I think it'd be delightful, because
it's annoying me so much. You've got the biggest star, like one of the biggest stars in the history of wrestling. It's your company, and the best you can do for him for the last few weeks is have him stand backstage and say the same tact every week. Which is, I'm not going to fight Christian Cage. I'm still not going to fight. Have him. Why can't we have? And I know because I know we don't want to overexpose Edge, right? Because he's Adam Copeland, sorry, because he's old. But can we not have him in a couple of like if you're going to put anybody in random Dynamite matches or random Collision, put Copeland in against random people, and then have the storyline continue after that. Just have him do nothing. It feels like Edge. He came in with all this momentum, and then he's gone.
That's where I think at the height of what made Edge, right? Edge, in my eyes, everyone in Chris Jericho, deservedly so, gets credit for the Money in the Bank concept and how great the Money in the Bank briefcase is. You know who made that briefcase? Edge did. Edge made that briefcase, right? Adam Copeland did. And if you have him behind that mask, how slimy can you talk about pulling the rug out from under, right? We've got nostalgia pops. And to your point, I'm a little tired of the week-to-week promos at times. I hear you, but at the same time, I do feel like it's, in an effort just to get Copeland on TV.
Yeah.
But if he's behind that mask, man, now all of a sudden you're talking about the most manipulative dude in the industry is Christian. Now that MJF's a babyface who used to be the most manipulative, scariest dude in the industry.
Yeah.
Well, how about a throwback too and add that to the mix?
Yeah. I'm still afraid. I'm still afraid it's Punk. I've got that I'm still afraid.
I said it first. I'm just saying.
I know.
I hope. I mean, then again, if we have all been swerved, the Jack Perry thing didn't really happen. It was Tony Khan. Tony Khan was pretending that Jack Perry. That's actually a good thing. Tony Khan was pretending that he was worried about the monitors on him. Tony Khan's actually been in way more dangerous situations in his life. All of this stuff. It would be the best work ever, but I don't think it is a work.
It's a pentacle.
Yeah. Well, anyway, guys, that does bring us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for watching. If you're over on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you're over on Spotify, please give us a cheeky 5 stars. It is always so very much appreciated. We will be back tomorrow, Throwback Thursday, of course, as usual, a bit later on. I will have to put the times on the Instagram stories because of the time changes. I'm thrown off slightly. But thank you to Clark, thank you to David, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy AEW Dynamite.